मोहन जो की जाय नित्य विष्णु विष्णुपार अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय नित्य विष्णु विष्णुपार अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जाय नित्य विष्णु विष्णुपार अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् श्रील भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जाय नित्य प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षोरस बाबूजी महाराज की जय नित्य प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय नित्य प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय श्री रूपानुगौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल पद दास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय सार्व अभिष्ट विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जय श्री राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद की जय श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय श्री भक्ति देवी की जय श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय 11th Canto की जय श्री विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय Sārārtha-darśīni वृत्ति की जय श्री पाप मोचनी एकादशी तिथि की जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणेति नामिने नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनेति नामने वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहावो पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयमुनिमानतोऽस्मि नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सतं नष्टप्रयेष्ववद्रेषु नित्यं भगवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमं चरणान्तिकं भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दं भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Rama Rama Hare Hare. Haribo Vinayak Joy. Welcome. And Ganga Mataji, Madhavi Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, and Indira Mataji. Dandavat pranams to all of you. Haribo. Hope you're all having a wonderful Akadashi. Okay, so I'm going to read from the summary, and then we'll continue where we left off. Once the sages, including Vishwamitra, Durvasa, Kashyapa, Angira, Vashishta, Narad, and others, went to a holy place called Pindaraka after performing a ritual at Vasudev's house. By Krishna's desire, in a playful mood, the young boys of the Yadu family dressed Krishna's son Samba as a pregnant woman and inquired from the sages about the fruit of Samba's fictitious pregnancy. Feeling disrespected, the sages cursed the mocking boys. "You fools, she will give birth to a club that will destroy your dynasty." Shocked, the boys immediately lifted the garment from Samba's abdomen, and to their astonishment, they found a club. The boys were terrified and hastily brought the club to King Ugrasen and narrated everything. On the regretful king's order, the club was ground to powder and thrown into the ocean. But as Providence would have it, the waves carried all the bits of powdered club back to the shore, where they were absorbed and fructified into tall canes. A hunter named Jara found a small lump of that iron club from the belly of a fish, and he fashioned it into an arrowhead. These and the hunter's arrow would ultimately be the means for the annihilation of the Yadus. The all-knowing Lord Krishna, although capable of reversing the Brahman's curse, didn't do so. Rather, in his form as time, he sanctioned all these events. The reasons why Krishna departed along with the Yadus are elaborated later. Understanding the curse of the Yadu dynasty and the imminent disappearance of Krishna, Vasudeva became anxious. He approached Narad Muni for enlightenment. Narad instructed him by narrating a conversation between King Nimi and the Nava-Yogendras, the great 9 devotee sons of Lord Rishabhadev: Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabhuda, Pipalayan, Avihutra, Durmila, Chamasa, and Karabhajana. Once during their travels, the Nava-Yogendras had come to see the sacrifice of Nimi. Nimi had asked them 9 glorious questions, each of which was answered by one of the 9 great sages. So Nimi asked his first question about bhakti. "Please tell me, what is the supreme good for the entire humanity?" Shri Kavi answered, Fear comes from misidentification with matter. But if one worships the Supreme Lord Narayan and performs bhakti by one's body, mind, and senses, one will become fully fearless in this world." Then Nimi's second question was, "What are the qualities and behavior of a devotee?" Shri Havi answered, "There are 3 types of devotees. 1, the Uttam Adhikari, or very advanced devotee, who sees Lord Krishna within everything and sees everything in relation with Krishna. Then 2, there's the Adhikari, an intermediate devotee, who offers love to the Lord, makes friendship with other devotees, shows mercy to the innocent, and disregards the envious. And then 3rd, there is the Kanishta Adhikari, or neophyte devotee, who faithfully worships the deity, but doesn't behave properly with devotees." Then Nimi's 3rd question, he asked, "Please describe Maya, or the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu that bewilders even great mystics." Shri Antariksha answered, "To facilitate the independent enjoying propensity of wayward souls, the Lord creates sangsar, or this material existence, by his illusory energy Maya. Though constitutionally eternal, all-knowledgeable, and ever blissful, the materially embodied soul engages in gratifying material senses, identifying oneself to be the material body. Thus, the spirit soul gets entangled in Maya, or illusion." Anyways, that's what we're reading today. We're going to begin with that. Oh, Hare Krishna, Sogat Roy. Hare Krishna. Oh, thank you. Okay. So now we are continuing on, reading from the third chapter. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga. Shirajovacha Parasya Vishnurishasya Mayinam Api Mohinim Mayam Vidchamo Bhagavanto Bhruvantuna. King Nimi said, "Now we wish to learn about the illusory potency of the Supreme Lord, which bewilders even great mystics. My lords, please speak to us about this subject." Sārārtha-darśīni commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. In the third chapter, the sages answer King Nimi's questions about Maya, deliverance from Maya, the form of Narayan, and karma. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11.2.48 mentions the Lord's Maya. Now the king asks a question about this. Nanutripte jushanyushmar vacho hari katamritam sangsara-tapanistapto martyastat tapabheshajam. Is it Bheshajam? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Although I, suffering in material existence, am drinking the nectar of your statements about the Lord's glories, which is the remedy for those suffering in material existence, my thirst is not yet satiated. Commentary. The cause of asking this question is the irrepressible greed to drink the nectar of your words, since I am eager for your association. Shri Antariksha Uvacha Ebhir Bhutani Bhutatma Mahabhutar Mahabhuja Sasarjocha Vachanyadhya Swamatratma Prasiddhaye. Antariksha said, "O mighty armed king, by activating the material elements, the primary soul of all creation has created all living beings in higher and lower species, so that these conditioned souls can cultivate either sense gratification or ultimate liberation according to their desire." Commentary. The guna should be defined by defining the effects of the gunas: creation, maintenance, and destruction. Maya, made of the gunas, is defined by the gunas, so defined. Maya, made of the gunas, is defined by the gunas, so defined. That is an interesting sentence. Okay. The Supreme Lord created all higher and lower beings, the devas, humans, animals, and plants, in order that the jivas could attain sense objects and also attain the Lord. Buddhindriya mana pranam jananam asrajat prabhu matrartham cha pavartham chatmane kalpanaya cha. Okay, anyways. The Supreme Lord manifested the material intelligence, senses, mind, and vital air of the living entities so that they could indulge their desires for sense gratification, take repeated births to engage in fruitive activities, become elevated in future lives, and ultimately attain liberation. That is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.87.2. Evam srishtani bhutani pravishta panchadhatubhi ekadha dashadhatmanam vibhajan jushate gunan. The Lord, having entered the material bodies created by the five elements, divides himself into the mind and 10 senses, and he engages the jiva in enjoying the sense objects. Commentary. 3 verses describe the situation after creation. Having entered the bodies created by the 5 gross elements as Paramatma, the Lord, dividing himself up to the mind and the 10 external senses, makes the jiva enjoy the sense objects produced by the gunas, produced by the material modes of nature. Gunar gunan sab bunjana atma pradyotita prabhu Manyamana idam srishtam atmanam iha sajjate. The jiva, enjoying the objects of the senses by the senses, which are illuminated by the Lord, and thinking himself to be that created body, takes repeated births in different bodies and becomes entangled in those bodies. Commentary. The jiva, having enjoyed the objects of the senses by the senses, illuminated by the Antaryami, thinking himself to be that created body, becomes entangled in that body. He takes birth definitely in various types of bodies. Karmani karma kurvan tanimitani dehabhrit tat karma phalam grinan brahmati hasuketaram. The jiva engages his active sense organs in activities accompanied by impressions, and, accepting the karma in the form of enjoyment and suffering, wanders in this world. Commentary. Then the living entity continues in samsara, performing actions accompanied by vasanas or impressions, and using the action senses, the jiva attains the results of action in the form of happiness and distress, and enjoys, since it has been seen that one even enjoys being born in hellish situations. Itam karma gatir gachan bhavadbhadravaha puman abhuta samplavat sarga pralaya vashnute vasa. Okay, wait. Sorry, it wasn't divided properly. Let me try again. Itam karma gatir gachan bhavabhadravaha puman abhuta samplavat sarga pralayav ashnute vasha. Thus, the helpless jiva obtains various bodies according to karma, involving great misfortune, and attains birth and death until the destruction of the universe. Commentary. Abhuta samplavat means until the destruction of the created things. Dhatu praplava asanne vyaktam dravya gunatmakam anadi nidhanam kalo yavyaktaya prakarshati. When the annihilation of the material elements is imminent, time without beginning or end draws the manifest cosmos, consisting of gross and subtle features, into Prakriti. Commentary. The destruction is described in 8.5 verses. Pralay, the universal destruction. 8.5 verses. When the destruction of the material elements takes place, time pulls the products composed of gross and subtle matter into the cause, Prakriti. Time, Kal, pulls gross and subtle matter, all the dravya guna, into Prakriti. Shatavarshahyana vrishtir bhavishyattul bana bhuvi tatkalo pachitoshnarko lokangstrim pratapeshyati. A terrible drought will take place on earth for 100 years. The heat of the sun having increased at that time, the sun burns up the 3 worlds. Commentary. The sun increases in heat. Patala talamarabhya sankarshana mukhanala dahan urdhva shiko vishvag vardate vayunerita. Beginning from Patalalok, a fire grows emanating from the mouth of Lord Sankarshan. Its flames shooting upward, driven by great winds. Its flames shoot upward, driven by great winds, and it scorches everything in all directions. Samvartako megha gano varshati sma shatam sama dharabhir hasti hastabhir liyate salile virat. Masses of clouds causing destruction, pouring torrents of rain as long as elephants' trunks for 100 years, will drown the universe in water. Commentary. Samvartaka means causing destruction. The shafts of rain are as long as elephants' trunks. Tato virajamutsrijya Tato virajamutsriji Utsriji Utsriji Vairaja Purusho Nripa Avyaktam Vishate Shukshmam Nirindhana Ivanala. Then Vairaja Brahma gives up his universal body, O king, and enters into the subtle Prakriti, like a fire that has run out of fuel. Commentary. After the jivas are merged, the totality of all jivas, Vairaja Brahma, merges into Prakriti. Because some Brahmas are karmis, jnanis, or bhaktas, some Brahmas again take birth. Some Brahmas attain liberation, and some Brahmas attain prem and become associates of the Lord. That is the understanding gained from verses such as the following. Gita 9.7 says that from Brahma to the plants, all beings take rebirth. But it is also said, Brahmana sahaste sarve samprapte pratisanchare parasyante kritatmana pravishyanti parampadam. Those who are on Brahmaloka with exalted status at the time of dissolution go directly to the supreme abode along with Lord Brahma. That's from Kurma Puran 111-84. Vayuna ritaganda bhu salilatvaya kalpate salilam tadhrita rasang jyotishtvayopakalpate. Deprived of its quality of aroma by the wind, the element earth is transformed into water, and water, of its taste by that same wind, is merged into fire. Commentary. Having described the destruction of the totality of jivas, a product, the destruction of the causes, the elements, is described in reverse order of their creation. Wind or air is well known to deprive earth of fragrance. Deprived of fragrance by the wind of destruction, the earth becomes water. This means it merges into water. The water, deprived of taste by the wind, merges into fire. Other elements should be understood in the same way. Hrita rupam tu tamasa vayo jyoti praliyate hrita sparsho vakashena vayur nabhasi liyate kalatmana hrita guna nabha atmani liyate. Fire, deprived of its form by the wind, dissolves into the element air. When the air loses its quality of touch by the influence of ether, the air merges into that ether. When the ether is deprived of sound by time, ether merges into the false ego and ignorance. Commentary. Fire deprived of form by the wind merges into air. It is called tamasa because darkness is famous for covering form. Air, deprived of touch by ether, enters into ether. The destruction of sounds by time is also well known. Ether then merges into tamasa ahankar atmani, into the false ego of ignorance. Into false ego. Indiyani manobuddhi sahavaikarikar nirpa pravishanti yahankaram swagunar ahamatmani. O king, The material senses and intelligence merge into the false ego and the mode of passion from which they arose. And the mind, along with the devatas, merges into false ego and the mode of goodness. Then the total false ego, along with all of its qualities, merges into the Mahat Tattva. Commentary. The senses and intelligence merge in Rajasahankar. The mind, along with the devatas, merges into Sattvika Ahankar. Ahankar, along with the gunas, merges into the Mahat Tattva. The Mahat Tattva merges into Prakriti. Esha Maya Bhagavata Sargastityantakariणी Trivarna Varnitasmabhi Kim Bhuya Shrotumichasi. I have now described Maya, the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord, which consists of the three modes of material nature and causes creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material universe. Now, what more do you wish to hear? Commentary. I have described Maya, or Pradhan, characterized by three gunas. This is a form of avidya. That this is a form of avidya is understood from the second canto. Rittertam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyad atmano mayam yata bhaso yata tama. One should understand my Maya, by whose power real objects are perceived through vidya, and false objects are perceived through avidya, in relation to the self, just as light reveals objects and darkness hides them. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 2:9-34. Shirajova. One second, let me just check the comments. Haribo. Pradyumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Gargarajji, and Rukmini Didi, and Sudevi Didi, Rohit Radhakrishnanji. What about the ISKCON translation? The translation I'm reading right now is by Bhanu Swami. But yeah, actually the BBT translation is a lot more, it flows a lot more nicely. I think Bhanu Swami's translation is just very literal. Anyhow. Okay, Shirajovacha Yataitam Aishvarim Mayam Dustaram Akritatmabhi Tarantyanja Stuladhiyo Maharsha Idamuchatam. Just letting you know, whenever there's an S with a dot under it that comes before a ja or a cha, there should be an N with a squiggle, like there should be an N with a tilde above it. So that should be anja, not ashja. Okay, King Nimi said, "O great sage, you should explain how even a foolish materialist can easily cross over the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord, which is always insurmountable for those who are not accomplished." Commentary. The king already knows that one can cross Maya by bhakti, for it was already said, Payam dutiya bhiniveshatasyad isharapetasya viparyo smriti tan maya yato buddha abhajit bhaktai kayesham gurudeva tatma. That was an answer, an answer to the first question. For the jiva averse to the Lord, there will be sangsar because of his absorption in the material coverings on the soul, arising from the Lord's Maya. Sangsar takes the form of identity with the body and lack of identity with the soul. Therefore, the intelligent taking Guru as his Lord and very self should fully worship the Lord with pure bhakti. That's in verse 37 of the previous chapter. However, seeing karmis who thought they were learned present in the assembly, the king asked this question: Akritamabhi means by persons with imperfect or slow intelligence, since Amar Kosh says Krita means complete. You should explain how foolish persons like these can easily cross Maya, which is difficult to cross by holding a dog's tail. The king asks this question while glancing towards the karmis present. Shri Prabhuddha Uvacha Karmanyarabhamananam Dukkahatyai Sutkaya cha Pashyet Paka Viparasam Mituncharinam Mituncharinam Drinam. Prabhupada said, one should see that the activities of those who endeavor for destruction of sorrow and creation of happiness. One should see that the activities of those who endeavor for destruction of sorrow and creation of happiness by sex life, those people achieve the opposite results. They don't attain happiness, they attain sorrow, even though they're trying to do the opposite. Commentary. Karmis do not cross Maya. One should see this with discrimination. This is explained in 3 verses. Paka viparyasam means opposite results. Nityartidena vitena durlabhenatma mrityuna griha patyapta pashubhi kapriti saditaishchalai. What happiness can be attained by wealth, a perpetual source of distress, which is difficult to acquire, and which is death for the soul? And what happiness can be attained by objects obtained through wealth, since they are all temporary? What happiness is attained by wealth? None. What happiness is attained by house and other things attained by wealth? No happiness is attained because the things are temporary. Evam lokam param vidyan nashvaram karna nirmitam satulyati shaya dvangsam yatha mandalavartinam. One should know that the objects of this world and the next, produced by karma, are temporary, just like the existence of kings who have competition with equals, envy of superiors, and lamentation because of defeat. Commentary. Thus, this world and the next cannot give happiness. Shruti says, Tad yateha karma jito lokakshiyate evam evamutrab punya jito lokakshiyate. Just as this life is destroyed by exhaustion of fruitive activities, so the next life is also destroyed by the exhaustion of pious acts. That's from the Chandogya Upanishad 8.1.6. However, even at the time of enjoyment, one can see that happiness is mixed with sorrow. It is just like kings having rivalry with equals, envy of superiors, and lamentation at their own defeat. Oh wow, we come to this very famous verse. Tasmar gurum prapadyeta jigyasu shreya uttamam shabde pare chanishnatam pramanyupashamashrayam. Therefore, one who is inquisitive about the highest truth should surrender to a guru who is skillful in the scriptures and fixed in realization, while being under the control of anger and greed. Wait, it shouldn't be saying but while being under the control, while anger and greed are under his control, right? Anyhow. And wait, I just want to see what the context is again. We should know that the objects of this world and the next, produced by karma, are temporary, just like the existence of kings who have competition with equals, envy of superiors, and lamentation because of defeat. Therefore, one who is inquisitive about the truth should surrender to a guru who is skillful in the scriptures and fixed in realization, and who also has control of anger and greed. Okay, commentary. Now bhakti, the means of crossing samsara, which was previously explained, is described. Please listen. One should surrender to a guru who is skillful, nishnatam, understanding the meaning of the Vedas and other scriptures. If he does not have this quality, the faith of the disciple will become weak, since he will not be able to destroy the doubts of the disappointed disciple. He should be capable as well in realizing the Lord, Pare. Otherwise, his mercy will not bear results. The position of being fixed in realization of the Lord is described. He is not under the control of anger and greed. Upashamashayam. Yes, that translation definitely needs to be fixed. Actually, I found it many times in Bhumipati, a few times, we've come across like where Bhumipati, sorry, why am I saying Bhumipati? I meant to say Bhanuswami, where he forgets to make it negative, and so it has the opposite meaning. We've seen that a few times now. Tatra Bhagavatan Dharman Shiksher Gurvatmadaivata Amayaya Nuvrittayais Tushir Atmatmana Do sorry Tushir Atmatmado Hari. From the Guru, he who holds the Guru dear and worthy of worship should learn bhakti, by which the Lord, who gives himself in the deity form, is satisfied. You know, I think maybe sometimes we can read the BBT translation as well, because, yeah, sometimes these translations are a little bit choppy. What verse is that? Verse 22. Let's read it from here. Okay. Let's read the first verse and this current one. So, Tasmar Gurung Prabhateta. Therefore, any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, should be understood to be bona fide spiritual masters. Accepting the bona fide spiritual master as one's life and soul and one's worshipable deity, the disciple should learn from him the process of pure devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the soul of all souls, is inclined to give himself to his pure devotees. Therefore, the disciple should learn from the spiritual master to serve the Lord without duplicity, and in such a faithful and favorable way. The disciple should learn from the spiritual master to serve the Lord without duplicity, and in such a faithful and favorable way that the Supreme Lord, being satisfied, will offer himself to the faithful disciple. Wow. Let's just see it again. From the Guru, he who holds the Guru dear and worthy of worship should learn bhakti, by which the Lord, who gives himself in the deity form, is satisfied. Oh, wow. Such a big difference in the translation, huh? Yeah, maybe we should read both translations together from now on. Commentary. The Lord is satisfied. The Lord gives his self in the form of the deity in order that one may see, touch, and know him. Sarvato manaso sangam ado sangam trasadhushu tayang maitrim prashrayang cha bhuteshvadayatochitam. A sincere disciple should learn to disassociate the minds from everything material and positively cultivate association with a spiritual master and other saintly devotees. He should be merciful to those in an inferior position to him, cultivate friendship with those on an equal level, and meekly serve those in a higher spiritual position. Thus, he should learn how to deal properly with all living beings. Rise to the level of Madhyam Adhikar, right? Let's see now. This is this translation now. The disciple should in the beginning learn detachment of the mind from all things of this world, while showing mercy to the inferior, friendship to equals, and respect to superiors. Commentary. The disciple should learn giving mercy to the suffering souls, showing friendship to equals, and showing humility towards superiors. That is the meaning of yatha uchitam. Shocham tapastitiksham cha monam svadhyayamarjavam macharyam ahingsam cha samatvam dvandva samgyayo. The disciple should learn cleanliness, austerity, tolerance, silence, study of Vedic knowledge, simplicity, celibacy, non-violence, and equanimity in the face of respect or disrespect. Okay, one should learn non-violence and equanimity in the face of respect or disrespect. That is one thing. Commentary. Let me just look at the comments again. Oops, looks like my internet cut out. Commentary. He should learn external cleanliness by using water and earth, and internal cleanliness by destroying pride and hypocrisy. Austerity means control over lust. Austerity means control over lust, anger, and other impulses. He should learn to tolerate. He should know how to give up useless talk. He should learn recitation of texts which indicate bhakti as the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. He should learn to be straightforward and sincere, and how to give up the association of women. He should learn non-violence, and he should learn non-violence and equality in situations of respect or disrespect, devoid of joy or lamentation. He should learn how to not be, how calm and peaceful when he's respected or disrespected. And he shouldn't feel any joy when someone respects him or lamentation when he's disrespected. Okay. Sarvatratmeshvaran viksham kaivalyam aniketatam vivikta chiravasanam santosham yena kenachit. One should learn to see the deity everywhere with constant mind. And one should learn to have no pride in a house, to wear pure bark clothing, and to be satisfied with whatever comes of its own accord. Let's read the other translation now, the BBT translation. One should practice meditation by constantly seeing oneself to be an eternal cognizant spirit soul, and seeing the Lord to be the absolute controller of everything. To increase one's meditation, one should live in a secluded place and give up false attachment to one's home and household's paraphernalia. Giving up the decorations of the temporary material body, one should live with scraps of cloth found in rejected places or with the bark of trees. In this way, one should learn to be satisfied in any material situation. One should be satisfied with whatever comes of its own accord. Commentary. One should learn to see one's deity everywhere and be single-minded in actions. One should learn to have no pride in possessions like a house. One should learn to wear cloth made of pure bark. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre Nindam Anyatra Chapihi Manovakkarma Dang Dang Cha Satyam Shama Dama. Should learn to have faith in the Bhagavatam without criticizing other scriptures. He should learn to avoid sinful acts of mind, speech, and body, to speak the truth, and control the mind and external senses. Let's read this translation now. One of the scriptures. One should rigidly hold senses under full control. Commentary. One should learn to have faith in the Bhagavatam and to be devoid of criticism of other scriptures and be devoid of sins involving mind, words, and body. The disciple should learn to speak the truth and to control the mind and external senses. Shravanam kirtanam dhyanam Harerarbhuta karmana Janma karma gunanam Tararte kila cheshtitam Ishtam dattam tapo japtam Vrittam yaschatmana priyam Taran sutan grihan pranan Yat parasmai nivedanam. The disciple should learn hearing, chanting, meditation concerning the qualities, activities, and birth of the Lord who performs astonishing acts, and should learn to offer all actions to him. He should learn the performance of sacrifice to Vishnu, charity to Vishnu and the devotees, austerities such as Ekadashi, and proper conduct. He should learn to offer what he treasures to the Lord, and to engage wife, sons, and house in this Lord. Let's read BBT translation now. One should hear, glorify, and meditate upon the wonderful transcendental activities of the Lord. One should specifically become absorbed in the appearance, activities, and qualities and holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus inspired, one should perform all of one's daily activities as an offering to the Lord. One should perform sacrifice, charity, and penance exclusively for the Lord's satisfaction. Similarly, one should chant only those mantras which glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all one's religious activities should be performed as an offering to the Lord. Whatever one finds pleasing or enjoyable, he should immediately offer to the Supreme Lord, and even his wife, children, home, and very life air he should offer at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Commentary. One should learn how to perform sacrifice to Vishnu, and to give charity to Vishnu and the devotees, and to perform vows like Ekadashi. He should learn to chant japa using Vishnu mantras and have proper conduct. One should learn to offer articles dear to oneself to the Lord. One should learn to offer things extending to wife, son, and house to the Lord. This means one should learn to engage one's wife, one's home, and sons in the service of the Lord. Evam Krishnatmanateshu Manusheshu Chaso Hridam Paricharyam Chobhayatra Mahatsu Nrishu Sadhushu. One should learn to have friendship with people who have devoted their lives to Krishna and to serve Krishna, the devotees, those of higher status, and those of equal status in the proper manner. Okay, reading this translation now. One who desires his ultimate self-interest should cultivate friendship with those persons who have accepted Krishna as the Lord of their life. One should further develop an attitude of service toward all living beings. One should especially try to help those in the human form of life, and among them, especially those who accept the principles of religious behavior. As persons, one should especially render service to the pure devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should learn to have affection for humans whose very life is Krishna. One should learn to serve Krishna and his devotees. One should learn to serve persons worthy of respect, and persons who are equal according to their status. Parasparanu Parasparanu sorry, Parasparanukataanam Pavanam Bhagavad Yasha Mitoratir Mitastushtir Nivritir Mita Atmana. Okay, I'm going to continue. What do you think? Maybe it's better I read the BBT translation first and then this translation. Yeah, I think I'll do that. One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. The disciple should learn to develop attraction for the glories of the Lord through discussions with other devotees. He will experience happiness from their association, and mutually they will become detached from material enjoyment. Commentary. Taking shelter of purifying discussions where there is glorification of the Lord, one will have mutual enjoyment without rivalry. One will have happiness arising from association with other devotees. Mutually, one will become detached from material enjoyment, from one's wife and other things unfavorable for devotional development. This means, if you are becoming detached, I will also become detached from today. The disciple should learn all of this. One second, this. Wow, it looks like it keeps on cutting. Smarantas smarayantascha mitogha haram harim bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya vibhartyut pulakam tanum. This is a very famous verse. Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya, that's always quoted. That Prem Bhakti arises from Sadhan Bhakti. The devotees of the Lord constantly discuss the glories of the personality of Godhead among themselves. Thus, they constantly remember the Lord and remind of his qualities and pastimes. In this way, by their devotion to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, the devotees please the personality of Godhead, who takes away from them everything inauspicious. Being purified of all impediments, the devotees awaken to pure Godhead, and thus, even within this world, their spiritualized bodies exhibit symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, such as standing of the bodily hairs on end. Interesting translation. I can't find Bhaktya Sanjataya Bhaktya. Anyways. Remembering and inspiring other devotees to remember the Lord who destroys all sins, they will develop hairs standing on end in ecstasy by Prem Bhakti produced from Sadhan Bhakti. Yeah, it's like both translations are lacking. Like this translation is very like the English is much better, but it's not also always so like I can't find anywhere where it says Bhaktya Sanjataya Bhaktya. So it's not literal enough. Like it's too far away from there. And then this one is too literal, and so it's hard to even understand the meaning because it's so literal. Okay, so that's why I think we have to read both verses together and both translations together. Commentary. In this way, one will develop Prem Bhakti by Sadhan Bhakti. By Prem Bhakti developed by Sadhan Bhakti, one will have a body with hairs standing on end. Okay. Kvachir Prudanta chintaya kvache dasanti nandante vadatya lokika nrityanti gayanti pavanti tushnim parameta nirvrita. Having achieved love of Godhead, the devotees weep loudly, absorbed in thought of the infallible Lord. Sometimes they laugh, feel great pleasure, speak out loud to the Lord, dance or sing. Such devotees, having transcended material conditions of life, sometimes imitate the unborn Supreme by acting out his pastimes. And sometimes, achieving his personal audience, they remain peaceful and silent. Sometimes they weep because of thoughts of the Lord. Sometimes they laugh, become joyful, or speak without regard for piety. They dance, sing, and concentrate their senses on Krishna. Having attained the Lord and experiencing bliss, they remain silent. Commentary. Sometimes they weep. Today I did not Krishna. What will I do? Where will I go? Who should I ask? Who will give Krishna to me? Sometimes they laugh. Krishna hides himself at the base of a tree in the yard of a cowherd man in the night. So Krishna hides himself at the base of the tree in the yard of a cowherd man in the night in order to steal his wife. When the elders say, "Who are you?" Krishna begins to flee. Seeing this pastime of Krishna, they laugh. They become blissful on attaining realization of his form. They say, "O Lord, after so many days I have attained you." They remain without regard for society. They make Krishna the object of their senses. Having attained the Lord, being full of bliss, they remain silent. Let's read it from here. Iti Bhagavatam dharman shikshan bhaktya tarutaya narayana paromayam anjastarati dustaram. Thus learning the science of devotional service and practically engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, the devotee comes to the stage of love of Godhead. And by complete devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, the devotee easily crosses over the illusory energy, Maya, which is extremely difficult to cross. Okay, now let's read this translation. Having learned bhakti and being dedicated to Narayan, one will easily cross the insurmountable Maya by prem bhakti. Commentary. One thus learns about the performance of bhakti. This learning ends with the first part of verse 31. Following that, there are teachings about the cherished goal, prem, in order to inspire the devotee to develop to that stage, thinking, when will I develop symptoms of ecstasy? By prem bhakti arising from by prem bhakti arising from tat bhakti, by sadhan, one will cross Maya easily. Crossing Maya is a secondary result. Alright, so it is 8:30. I think I'm going to start doing this now, reading the BBT translation and Panuswami's translation. I'm going to keep on doing that. So we're not going to get as far every day. Hopefully we can still finish in a couple months though. Let's see. Yeah. But tomorrow we're going to hear the question. Nimi's going to ask, you, being most knowledgeable of the Lord, should speak about the Swarup of Bhagavan, Narayan, who is also Brahman and Paramatma. Okay, so now he wants to hear about Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So we'll hear that tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Thanks for community. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Guru Dev ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalla Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki Jai Nityalla Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalla Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gaur Kishora Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Nityalla Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki Jai Nityalla Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Shat Gosai Prabhu ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai Namachay Shri Haridas Ṭhākura ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala, Gora Mandala, Raja Mandala, Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki Jai, Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Jai, the 11th Canto ki Jai, Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura ki Jai, Sārārtha-darśīni commentary ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Shri Papamochani Akadashi Titi ki Jai, Titi Palankari Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Rukmini Didi. Hare Krishna Braj Price and Cristiano Luna. Hari Bol everybody. Pranams. Hare Krishna. Alright, see you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe.